Talladega Superspeedway is the largest track in NASCAR, and today the Nathan Young Designs Truck Series heads to their second round of their playoff eliminations, and we're at this 2 2/3 mile tri-oval ready to go racing and plate racing this weekend, Finian, and it's going to be a wild one, and with championship points on the line, we got to keep an eye out for that championship battle as we head to the next race.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a bunch of wild cards these last few races, going from short tracks to road courses to dirt ovals. It's been a bunch of different tracks, and it's been a wild card in the point so far. And even tonight too, it's going to be a wild card with the super speedway, and that always throws a wrench into everything. So as we go over the points here, so currently in the first group, as you can see on the bottom left of the screen, we have the 83 of Johnny Thomas, the 5 of Sam Close, the 18 of Paul Ross, and the 44 Matt Hackathorn in Group 1. And then in Group 2 we have Peter Short, Zielinski in the 59, Michael Whitley in the 94, and Thomas Morris in the 27.
You can see on the bottom left-hand side of your ticker there the brackets. 1 is on the left and 2 is on the right. The drivers in the green are above the cut line, and the drivers in the red are below the cut line. That's pretty cut and dry, I think. But Finian, tonight, the biggest thing, all these drivers, and every time we come to a plate track, it's always talking about the big one. And what do you have to do here to avoid it? This race is only 75 laps. It's relatively short by Talladega standards.
You need to grab a cross or something if you're religious and pray to whatever God you believe in, because I mean, honestly, it's kind of a crapshoot at the end of the day. There really isn't no telling when it's going to happen. It's an unknown. It's a question mark. You know at some point it's going to happen, but you just don't know where. To be honest, I would say the safest place would be in the front or in the back, but again, it can happen anywhere, anytime. You just got to be prepared for when it does happen.
Riding on board now is Sam Close, that number 5 truck, and he is actually to the good right now in the points, and not by a whole lot, though. I believe by 1 point over Paul Ross at 18. That's going to be an interesting battle to follow.
Yeah, in Group 1, it's a significantly closer than Group 2. Thomas and Close are both 15 points ahead of the cut line, so he has a significant advantage compared to everyone else. He has a little bit of breathing room as far as the points go, as you can see on the screen there. And then Zielinski and Whitley are tied at the moment for second and third there, and then Morris is 3 points behind. So Peter Short can kind of relax tonight, knowing that he has a bit of a gap. So all he just has to make sure he does is just get through the night and finish in a decent position. He doesn't have to win the race, although I'm pretty sure he's going to want to.
Qualifying is finishing up here, and Todd Smith in the number 1 truck to the top of the board. That's a name we have not seen up front lately, and Paul Ross also looking pretty good there in second. Chevy Gilliam in third in the 31 truck, and Luis Salmaso in the 4, sitting there in 4th spot. And Kevin Finn, a new entry tonight in that 5th spot. We haven't seen him around here in a little while.
Yeah, as a checkered flag flies, notably only 12 of the trucks qualified.
And you know why that is, Finian? Because qualifying doesn't matter at Talladega.
Well, I was going to say that, and also maybe some guys probably wanted to start at the back as well, as opposed to qualifying up front, because like we said, when you qualify, you're putting yourself a bit at a risk of being in the middle of the field. So some guys didn't want to qualify to be put towards the back, but considering how many people didn't qualify, there's going to be a lot of them stuck in the midfield.
Yeah, again, Todd Smith, that truck. We haven't seen him run extremely well lately, and it's refreshing to see that number 1 back on the top of the board, at least for the start of this race. But 75 laps in here, you got to make at least 1 pit stop. Probably going to be several pit stops throughout this race. But it's more of a track position game and keeping yourself out of trouble. But we always talk about the end of the race, too, planning for the last lap. And with this drafting package being a little bit different than in the past, what do you have to do coming to the checkers to try to make your move at the end to steal away a win?
Well, really, it's just a matter of having friends. This is pretty much this and Daytona are pretty much the tracks you want to have a lot of friends with, a lot of guys you're able to work with and make some moves with. Because while you can compare to the Xfinity cars and the Cup cars, you can move a lot more by yourself. But that being said, you really need to have a lot of guys to work with you, or you need at least a few guys to work with you to make some moves happen at the end of the race. And it's also just a matter of positioning yourself being in the right place at the right time towards the end. You don't want to be all the way back in 10th. You want to be a little bit further up, but first is also probably not the best, as you're kind of a sitting duck. So it's just a whole matter of just positioning yourself for the final stretch at the end.
So 75 laps here tonight, Finian. Not necessarily a super short race, but definitely shorter than maybe we're used to running here at Talladega. But one of the cautions are going to be hopefully infrequent tonight, because we only have, I think, 26 or 27 trucks starting this race, and the wreck can very easily take out 10 or 15 of those trucks. So moving your way through the field, you got to be careful. You got to find your friends, as you said, to make your way forward. The other difference between here and Daytona is that this track really has 3 lanes that you can use.
Yeah, pretty much. You can go 3 wide, even if you're very daring 4 wide around this track, and no line really matters. It's just a matter of really the momentum that matters, not just it being the shorter, faster way around the track, tire abrasion, all that. That doesn't really matter too much here. It's just more of which of the lines has momentum. It's the inside outside, and it's constantly changing up the race, and that's where you see drivers moving to the inside outside, changing lanes and all that.
Well, let's take a look at our starting grid here. Todd Smith in the number 1 truck at the top of the board. Paul Ross in the number 18 in second, and Ross is right now actually in the negative in that championship hunt, so he's got to have a good night tonight.
Yeah, and then we have Shelly Gilliam, who's been consistently well up in the front, not in the point standings at all, but it should be strong next year, I believe. And then Luis Almaso in 4th.
Kevin Finn, the number 14, starting here again tonight alongside Johnny Thomas in the 83. Right now, Thomas, I believe, is actually on the top of that first bracket, and then we have row 4.
Yeah, we have Austin Derbyshire, who's made a few frequent appearances here and there. He's going to be starting in that number 96 truck.
And then outside of him was Sam Close. But Tanner Sharp in 9th in the 76 truck this week. Mike Stevens in the 63 will be outside row 5.
And then behind him in 11th, we have Kyle Hanshaw on the 46. And then Matt Hackathorn, who was able to squeeze his way through last week at Southern National and to still be in the point standings.
Matt Gruenberg, always quick and almost won. Actually, did he win it? He won it.
Yes.
At, where were we last week?
Southern National.
Southern National, that's right. And then we had Chuck Sweeting there in the 26 truck on the outside.
Yeah, we have Peter Short, who's again sitting pretty in the points, doesn't have too much to worry about. And then
this is the second time we've gotten this guy's name. We really got to ask him.
Yeah, we probably should.
Kevin G. Levi Zielinski in the 59 truck, starting 17th. Thomas Morris in the 27 will be 18th on the outside lane in that number 27.
All right, then we have Tate Lytle in the 56 and 19th, and then James Miller in the 52 all the way back in 20th.
Pace car is going to pull off here in just a minute. We're going to finish up our starting grid. Michael Whitley in the 94 truck will be 21st. And ignore me, I'm not actually there. We were having some iRacing issues, but I'm not in this race as much as I would like to be. David Wilson in the 39, Justin Kolb in the 24 in 23rd and 24th, but we're going to have to cut this a little bit short as we are about to go green here. Finian and 75 laps. Green flag about to fly. Todd Smith and the 1 truck's going to lead him down, and there goes the flag. 75 laps here at the biggest track in NASCAR.
And you see Paul Ross and Todd Smith neck and neck as they head into turn 1, but Paul Ross again had no one to work with him, so also didn't get as good of a start.
Digger just got murdered there as we head through turn 2. Chevy Gilliam right on the rear bumper of that 1 truck, pushing hard. He's already down on the apron. That's a little bit sketchy there.
Yeah, he's trying to get the bottom line out in front at the moment, so he's pushing really hard. Now he's actually going to jump to the outside. He wants to take the lead early.
Strong move by the 31 truck to the outside, and meanwhile behind him, everyone's kind of getting himself sorted out, but Paul Ross is on that outside lane now with the 31 in front of him, and Luis Salmaso pushing in that 3rd row on the outside lane.
You can see all the guys with the red banners. Again, those guys are still in the points fighting for the championship. You see a lot of them up in the front here.
Heading down the front straightaway now, pushing and shoving, but the inside lane being pretty conservative. The outside pushing a lot harder as we head to complete lap number 1. The 31 of Gilliam to the line will lead lap number 1.
And you can see that inside line is actually kind of struggling to get some momentum here. A lot of the guys are separated, and that outside line is almost two car lengths clear.
All right, so the lead, we're still side by side with the 31 and the 1, but that outside lane already getting a lot of trucks. Chuck Sweeting is at the tail end of it. You see Peter Short way back there. That's the 59 of Levi Zielinski back there as well in a new paint scheme this week.
Yeah, it's so much so that I didn't even recognize the truck when I first saw it. But yeah, we're seeing that second group's kind of forming back, and this is probably just guys playing it easy. Now, these guys could very easily catch up, and I'm sure with the skill they have, they should be able to just get single file and draft all the way back up. It's very easy, and the trucks compared to their the Xfinity and the Cup cars, as far as drafting is concerned, you can see a lot of them just being able to move around the track.
And a tight, packed field up front, and this is really the get up and go portion of the race, Vinny. It usually starts out hectic. We get a wreck or two, everyone calms down, and it's calm and quiet to the end, but already starting out to a feverish pace here, and Todd Smith in the 1 is going to eke ahead of that 31 with help from Kevin Finn in the 14 Barks Root Beer Chevrolet Silverado.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who did we see in that car? We saw that earlier. I don't know who it was.
The
but
Barks root beer, that was the same guy, Kevin Finn from the D4SP Talladega race.
Ah, that's where I'm recognizing that. But yeah, he's jumped to the outside of Todd Smith and is trying to take the lead.
Oh, he chopped right across the nose of Gilliam and almost took himself out there, but got himself clear and will move himself to the point on the outside, and that will open up Todd Smith again, get some clean air back in the nose. And again, we have to watch those gauges here, Finney, and you don't want to get too hot.
Yeah, definitely so. It's very easy to be caught up in all the pushing and shoving and having a blast, and then you see a blinking red light on your dashboard, and then you realize you have to back off. So that's another thing that these guys have to keep track of. You can't just constantly push. You have to get off a bit. You let some air get to the engine, otherwise you're going to overheat and blow that motor.
So it looks like everyone's kind of sorted out, but they're kind of playing nice so far. We haven't seen a whole lot of wild moves. You see Tate Lytle way up out of the groove there and turn. Oh, we got 3 wide. Look at Todd Smith up the middle now.
Yeah, he looks like he's about to get sucker holed here, as no one's really wanting to work with him. As you see, that's the 96.
Austin Derbyshire.
Yeah.
He's shuffled out of line. He's just got to let everyone go here.
Yeah, good move on him. Just to let everybody get caught back up at the track. He's actually still flooring it around the bottom.
Actually, I'm a little worried he's got a problem here, Pinya. He's slow.
I think he's just trying to stay off the track there, and he's going to jump back on. There's a group behind him catching him, led by Chad Brown. And actually, it has one of our championship,
Two of them.
Yeah, that's Thomas Morris in 27 and Michael Whitley in the 94. So those guys are playing extremely conservative here.
And maybe not a bad idea, as the front group is racing pretty hard here, Finian. And again, like, we kind of always fire out of the gate pretty strong here at Talladega, but I think there will be a wreck at some point. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, and I think, but what I'm kind of surprised and noticed is a lot of the guys with the red banners not really making some moves. They're just kind of sitting position and holding. You don't see Paul Ross isn't really making any moves. Johnny Thomas is slowly working his way up to the front, but nothing too crazy from these guys. Mainly the guys who are not really fighting for any championship. They're just kind of win the race at this point, just having a blast. But the other guys are being very conservative with their moves.
So Smith out there just going for a win, and there's Johnny Thomas in that 83 truck, third truck on the inside lane, looking strong out of the gate. And again, he's already on the top of the board for bracket number 1.
Yeah, Thomas is really quiet in the first round of the chase as he was able to qualify. So you're gonna have to see how much he can really stick it to these guys, especially as he's fighting with the guy like Sam Close, Paul Ross, and Matt Hackathorn. Very competitive group. And actually, coincidentally, I think all those guys in that group are up ahead here. Yeah, you see 18, 83, 5, and Matt Hackathorn is just on the right side of the frame. So all the 4 of those guys in the first group are all around each other.
Hackathorn's carrying our gyro onboard cam here today. 33 degrees of banking here, I believe, and that's a heck ton here at Talladega. Lots of banking to lean on.
Yeah, I don't even think the camera really does it justice. If you see videos of people trying to walk in the bank, you can't pretty much. It's stat steep.
You see all the wheel movement here. It's not just putting the throttle down and going for it here, Finney. You got to be careful. The draft is pretty strong. You don't want to run into the guy in front of you. Don't push the pusher.
Yeah. Quote by Matt Malone there. But yeah, and a lot of the reason why you see guys bobbing and weaving is not that they can't keep the car straight. They can, but you always want to constantly just look out, see what's happening ahead of you in case maybe there's a wreck or a lot of chaos going on ahead. You may want to back out or decide to make a maneuver. And speaking of maneuvers, you have the 14 of Kevin Finn. He's going to charge out to the lead and try to block Chevy Gilliam from doing anything. And he's going to hold that for the moment. These guys are almost 3 car lengths ahead of the bottom line.
And they're really starting to drift up the racetrack here, Finian, and that's something you see a lot at Talladega. You see that top line kind of prevail for the comfortable long run. It seems like people are starting to drift up there, fall in the line, and get into the groove. We're 8 laps into this race. So it looks like guys are just starting to get comfortable. There's a 76 truck of Tanner Sharp up the middle of the Mountain Dew machine. That's a new ride for him this week. And I believe it was in the 23 truck last week at Southern National.
I think something like that, or 32.
23 Buffalo Wild Wings Chevrolet.
Yeah, something like, yeah.
Or Toyota. It's a Toyota. But here he is now driving the 76 Chevrolet. And we're looking from the roof. You can't see anything. Let's ride on board the roll bar camera here, Finian. You can't see more than one truck ahead of you.
Yeah, it's kind of unbelievable how big these cars really are. It's insane. It's so hard to see. And again, that's why guys are like constantly looking and weaving around the track. They're trying to see what's going on ahead of them.
There we go. Got a lap truck coming up here. I believe it is
Frank Sims IV,
that 75 truck, staying well out of the groove there, right up against that wall, being respectful of the lead lap machines.
Yeah, it can get very dicey coming up on lap cars. I think he might have started from the pits. He's 2 laps down, going on 3 laps down at the moment.
Yeah, and already off to a poor start for that 75 truck. A place where we thought he might actually be able to get a decent finish in here. Been struggling this season, has not found the speed in the truck, and we were hoping that Talladega would kind of be the equalizer. But look, now everyone's kind of dropped to the bottom, at least that 31 truck has, and takes command over the one of Todd Smith for the time being.
Yeah, so a lot of these guys just kind of sitting around at the moment, because again, these guys, it's kind of at this point just winding out the laps, just moving yourself slowly up to the front, especially if you're in the back, ways back. You see that Peter Short's still just hanging on at the moment. Again, he could charge up there at any point. He just has to probably floor it. Right now, I can imagine he's probably going 3/4 throttle and just modulating it, just trying to maintain a gap because he can see the entire field up ahead of him. So if something goes wrong, he's just a perfect distance away to jump onto the brakes and stay out of it.
And a good distance he is, but let's go 6 seconds behind this, and that's where you'll find Chad Brown leading another group of trucks. That's Thomas Morris. David Wilson is there as well as Michael Whitley and others. Grunberg is in that group as well, and Austin Derbyshire has tacked himself onto the tail end of this group.
Yeah, notably that these guys are significantly off the pace here. I'm not entirely sure why, unless they're just planning on just sitting back here distance away from the field. But yeah, they've been losing they've been losing over a second a lap. And I thought that they would have been able to get hooked up a lot easier, because when they're going single file, it's a lot easier to catch the lead pack. Even if you're behind, no matter how far behind you are. So I'm surprised that they haven't been able to catch them, and they're losing distance at the moment.
Back up front, look at this. This is a hornet's nest up here, and that's the 18 of Paul Ross there, the third truck in the outside lane. Started in second, trying to get his way back up to the front after being shuffled out early.
Yeah, I think he's honestly just happy just riding third where he is. He's up in the front, a little bit ways out of the danger zone. He not entirely, but I mean, it's as best as he can do. Doesn't want to do anything too stupid at the moment, and just riding it out and just making sure he's staying out of trouble.
You can see that second group a long ways back, but we're going to keep our eyes on the front of the group here, because this is really where all the action is. You see Todd Smith, Kevin Finn, and Chevy Gilliam have been no stranger to jumping out of line and switching lanes here, Finian, and I think that's going to be important when it comes to the end of the race.
Yeah, definitely so. You see that Todd Smith already trying to be defensive here, trying to maintain both lines. And he's going to get
strung out through the middle there, Finian.
Yeah, he's going to get sucker hole here through the middle unless anyone decides to make a third lane happen, which I would be surprised considering how early it still is in the race. And you can see no one really willing to help him, and everyone's trying to split him.
And he's having some minor connection issues there, but nothing too out of the ordinary. Chevy Gilliam now noses ahead of Kevin Finn, but the push down the back straightaway should be strong from Paul Ross at 18. And again, got the red championship playoff banner atop that number 18 Chevrolet. So keep an eye on that throughout the race. He's got to get himself above the cut line. He's 1 point away in battling the 5 of Sam Close, who is currently running in 9th. Todd Smith is actually hanging out pretty well there in the middle. He's not dropped back as fast as I thought he would.
Yeah, and I will say, notably, him being in the middle here, the outside line has been running close against the wall, and they've been losing a lot of momentum with Smith being in the middle there. You see Johnny Thomas taking an opportunity to hook up with Smith, and now he's going to charge up, just barely getting the lead ahead of Chevy Gilliam.
And the 76 of Tanner Sharp thought about going up the middle there to go with those guys, but tucked back in line, thought better of it. And Todd Smith really starting to have those issues. Hopefully that connection smooths itself out.
Yeah, there's nothing more terrifying at Talladega than seeing a car ahead of you flash before your eyes. It's really terrifying at these speeds.
Well, we're 13 laps in here, and so far so good. We've seen some good racing and good action, but really we haven't seen a whole lot of movement yet. A lot of guys have kind of stayed around where they started. Kyle Hanshaw's up 7 spots from his starting spot of 11, so that's probably one of the biggest movers we've seen so far in that number 46.
Yeah, I mean, because again, at this point of the race, it's kind of just, these guys realize there's a lot of laps left to go on the chart. And I mean, if you're running up in this pack, you pretty much have a shot at winning this race. As see,
one.
Ooh, that got very close there as everyone got stacked up behind the 31. And yeah, the 14 almost just pretty much pinched the 1 into the 31, and they almost got stacked up.
You can see how much that disrupted that group there, though, Finney. The outside totally got disassembled, and everyone kind of dropped to the bottom to rearrange themselves, and now we have a race to the yellow line down the back straightaway.
Yeah, and everyone's just fallen down to the low line as that had more momentum as the top line was checking up. And you can see already Smith and Finn falling back significantly. And Hanshaw's moved his way all the way up to third now. That's incredible.
The Hanshaw, probably one of our biggest movers so far in that 46 truck, and Now he's looking for third, second, and there goes Johnny Thomas to the outside. And Thomas wants a piece of this, and again, he's at the top of bracket number one.
And here comes Todd Smith charging on the outside with Kevin Finn pushing him.
Oh, this is making some a bad situation here, Finian.
Yeah, but these guys really want to go for this win here, and I mean, I can't blame them. They want to get some racing in. And they're going to try to make it 3 wide here on the top, and now it's dropped down to 2 wide.
And Todd Smith is looking really aggressive. If he survives to the end of the race, I'd put my money on that one truck because he's been very aggressive with his moves. The 76, a sharp look to the middle there for a second, but didn't quite go for it. There's a truck making some moves towards the rear of this pack that was a blue truck, I believe. It's a 24 of Justin Cold. And again, a late season entry. I believe his first or second race was Lime Rock Park, so he's only been here for a little while, but making moves back here, tacked on board with that number 59 of Levi Zielinski.
Yeah, and an update on the second pack. So these guys are now in 19th on back. These guys are 11.5 seconds behind. They slow down their the rate that they've been losing the pack, though not by much. Though they still are losing by a second here or two. So they still need to make some momentum. And at this point, if I was Thomas Morris or Michael Whitley, I'd be kind of worried at this point.
Well, I mean, you're almost guaranteed a yellow, but the problem is these guys, with how they've been racing, they could go to lap 70 before they have a crash, and that's a problem for that rear group because catching back up will be very difficult.
I was going to say, yeah, their strategy would have played off if these guys were on the verge of crashing, and I mean, I guess you could argue they've been cutting it close, but these guys have been giving each other a ton of room, which is making for some very awesome racing, very respectful racing.
It's been a fantastic race so far. Out of turn 4, look at the field pushing and shoving. And 52 truck of James Miller's got a new scheme on there that week. He's the blue and red truck, the outside lane, 4th truck in line. Looking pretty strong here as well, and was having a good run at Southern National before being involved in a couple incidents, and I believe it received a small penalty after last week's incident with Levi Zielinski.
I'm just sitting here wondering why he has a clown on his hood.
Well, sometimes you shouldn't wonder things, and you should just go with it.
But that aside, also having a good run is the 63 Mike Stevens. He's been having decent run. He's in 10th. Yeah, so he's been having some okay runs this season, and now he's finding himself in the top 10. So nice to see that Coors car up in the front.
And Gilliam has fallen back to 8th now. That truck has struggled a little bit in recent laps. Right out of the gate was strong and pushing and shoving up front, but is now settled in that 8th spot and beginning to go down the list as you see the 87 of Richard Hines beginning to make a move.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of just seeing the ebb and flow of this track. And even in my experience racing, is there's some times where you kind of want to get away from the front of the field and that constant trying to fight for the lead. You just want to kind of back off for some laps, cool yourself off more importantly than your actual engine. Just kind of sit around, run for some laps, and then try to make a charge back up in the front.
And look at Matt Hackathorn in that 44 truck. He is at the bottom of the cut line for that first group, so he's got to have a good day today, and I don't think he's willing to take no for an answer for the trophy this evening. And 12th to 2nd, so up 10 spots for the 44.
Yeah, but Hackathorn has been on quite a bit of a roll after last week. Finished really well last week, and he's set to finish really well this week. As you see, the 1 of Todd Smith get kind of put on the apron there. Got a little squirrely. Saved his car, though, and you see some guys actually... some guys getting their cars squirrely.
Whoa, the 76 just shot into that gap. That was microscopic hole there that Tanner Sharp got that truck into. Oh, man.
Yeah, it takes those kind of moves, though, and that kind of awareness to make sure you're not getting into someone. And it takes a lot of skill to judge that gap, and he judged it perfectly.
You really got to trust your spotter here at Talladega, and you have to kind of anticipate the runs, because your spotter might say clear 1 second, and half a second later, you're not.
I was going to say, that's kind of the trouble with the digital spotter, as I would imagine almost all these guys are running digital spotters. And so they're only using the information they're given. They don't anticipate runs. So that's kind of left up to you, and he made a perfect call there to squeeze in. And he's actually got some momentum now, charging up the inside.
Ooh, the 52 got a little bit loose there mid-corner. And the 87 of Richard Hines is looking to push and shove. But Todd Smith ekes out to the lead once more as we head to lap 20.
Yeah, and as we head to lap 20 now, one thing we got to mention now, pit stops are probably going to come into these guys' minds a bit. Green flag pit stops specifically. I mean, these guys have been racing really clean, and it doesn't really look like we're going to have a caution in sight. The field's it's been spread out since the drop of the green flag. So this is kind of the least chance that we have of having a caution come out. So green flag pit stops are going to come to play. And now it's just kind of, working with your teammates that you have. These guys are on racing teams. So you do have some guys to work with as far as pitting, because you don't want to pit by yourself. You will be effectively screwed if you pit by yourself. You need the draft. You need people to pit with. So, again, where I think we're about 15-20 laps away from that potentially. But it's something to just keep in mind at the moment, considering the way these guys have been running.
And lovely cameras around here that Finian has done for us in turn 4 especially, and Hackathorn really pushing that 14 hard here. And as we head towards the green flag pit stops, Finian, when you're in that outside lane pushing and shoving, how do you get yourself down to the bottom, especially on short-term notice?
You shove your way down there. If there isn't a hole, you need to really try to make a hole. Again, it's kind of one of the things where you need to start thinking about it. If you want to make sure you have extra laps on your tank before you decide to make a pit stop, because if you're caught up there and you have to make it down the specific time you need to make it down, and there's no spot for you, you're gonna end up running out of gas. So you really need to kind of anticipate that, and that's probably what we're potentially seeing is a lot of guys single filing out again a little bit too early, and this is probably just guys trying to run up this race a little bit.
Well, Paul Ross has dropped back to 11. He's kind of settled in. He seems satisfied there. You see Justin Kolb and Peter Short kind of getting linked together. That's back there for 17. Actually, is that Justin Kolb? Nope, actually he's behind him. Who is that? Oh, that's Frank Sims the fourth, actually. The lap down truck, the 75, that's in front of Peter Short. And Short's really been taking this conservatively. He doesn't need to have an amazing night. Yeah. Needs to finish, I believe, to keep himself above the cut line, really 15th or better, basically, right?
And, I mean, you also think about it, too. Thomas Morris and Michael Whitley in the 27 and the 94, they're currently 23rd and 25th running at the moment. And those are the two guys he's fighting for in the points alongside Levi Zielinski. And Zielinski's around where he's running, so, and again, he has that 15-point buffer. So, again, he can kind of just sit around, and he doesn't really need to do anything till the later half of the race, or even the later quarter of the race. So, because he's maintaining that draft, and that's all he needed to do at this point.
Through turns 3 and 4 again, and really it's kind of calmed down the last couple laps. You've seen the runs begin to diminish here a little bit. People have been a lot more conservative. I think they're thinking about the long game. We haven't had an initial crash, and that's beginning to worry these guys that from the 42 on back that are in that second group. They're 11 seconds back from the leaders. Really, if we get through this pit cycle clean, that puts those guys at a real risk of going a lap down.
Yeah, potentially so. Although I have noticed that Kevin G in the 42 might send a message to us after this race because we need to ask you your name. But he's the 42, and then we have the 54, Matt Grunberg. They've switched out, apparently. I think Chad Brown's fallen off the leading part of this group. So they've changed leaders in this group, hopefully trying to charge up towards the front. And it looks like they might be going a little bit faster. So again, we'll keep an eye on this group. They do have some time to work their way up, but they need to start charging now.
And if we can take a look here, let's ride on board with the 54 of Gruenberg here for just a moment. Let's take a look at our track map. Now, there's Gruenberg here, and what we should get a good look at, let's get the 14 on the board, and then the 44 of Hackathorn. See if that is going to work at all, or not. Well, actually, look at it. Well, we can still use this anyway. Look at where the 44 is on the racetrack. That's the... Oh, I'm looking at the wrong truck. That's why. I'm looking at the 54. Why didn't you tell me that thing? You're killing me.
I thought you knew.
There we go. That's what I was looking for. Although it says the 54 is coming out of turn 2, which he is. So about a straightaway difference between those two drivers.
You can see the group there. You can see the lead pack just going into turn 3. And you can see, yeah, they're separated by about a straightaway. So we can still see them. But again, you need to be up there. Or you want to try to be up there by the end of the race. And I know Grunberg definitely wants to be there. Austin Derbyshire was running really well as well. Morris and Whitley want to be up there for the points. So a lot of these guys really want to get to the front to be there at the end of the race, trying to finish the best that they can.
And Matt Hackathorn, of course, riding on board. Now look at the windshield, starting to get pretty dirty with all the rubber and stuff. That kind of impairs your vision. You need the best, clearest vision you can have, especially when you can't see past the spoiler of the truck in front of you.
Yeah, no, definitely it starts to get annoying after a while, and you almost want to pit just so you can get a tear off, but obviously you're not going to do that. But you want to make sure you get a good pit stop. And just in general, you want to. That's another thing too we have to keep track of. You don't want to overshoot your stall on a super speedway. You'll get left behind from the group that you pit with. So again, that's another thing on pit stops you got to be concerned with, is making sure you get in there slow, but not slow enough where you lose your pack.
Great shots from on board the 44 Hackathorn here, and starting to see that inside line thinking about pitting, and you see the 52 down on pit lane, and he is sliding out of control on the pit entrance, and just noses into the wall.
Yeah.
But he'll be down in the pit lane where that won't cause a caution.
Yeah, but that's definitely going to take him out of the race.
At least for the time being. Here's a replay of it. Comes down off the banking and just Finian, the brake bias is so far forward, so far rearward here, and the brakes are so small that it's really hard. They put small brakes on here at Finian to save weight. And the problem is that makes them really ineffective. So when you get on the binders here, we see a bunch more cars on pit road. That whole second group is down in the pit lane now. But as I was saying, when you get on the binders here, Finian, very unsettling to the rear of the truck.
Yeah, definitely. So we're seeing some guys coming to the pits. I thought these guys would have tried to make it one stop. I didn't think they would have to make 2 stops. Well, let's see this time. Do we have any takers?
Don't see
doesn't
any.
seem like it.
But look at the 22 truck here, Finian. Peter Short has rocketed all the way up to 6th in that lap. So he passed a bunch of trucks trying to move himself up in a better position for the pit stop. So smart move by Peter Short.
Yeah, definitely. So, and you can see some of the guys who were in that back group that just came out of the pits at 54. Matt Grunberg, the 42, Austin Derbyshire in the 96. So some of these guys who just made their pit stops are a little disconnected.
Oh, caution's out.
Oh,
Sam Close in the wall.
Oh wow. So that's really thrown a wrench into everything now.
Oh man, and there was other trucks involved here. Let's take a look at it, Finian. But caution's out lap 27. Oh, and Close just drifted up and came back down, got into Chuck Sweeting and hard into the wall, and the 75 of Frank Sims, the 4th, collected as well. That was a strange-looking accident.
Yeah, I kind of want to go a little bit further back. It looks almost like something just broke in his car, which is really unusual because there aren't any reliability errors in iRacing.
Almost looks like he got a tire go down.
Let's try to go on a roll bar view or something where we can see his hands at work.
Go gyro cam here. This is the 5 of Sam Close. And he was full throttle here the entire time. Oh, he breathed the throttle for a second, and almost like he got distracted or something. But wow, a hard, vicious impact, and that knocked the motor right out of the gate. But that was a very strange-looking wreck.
Yeah, I think something might have happened to him in real life that probably distracted him or something, because there's nothing that looks like anything, like it wasn't any kind of like, hardware failure where the wheel just like shot right or something. He looked like he was in control the entire time.
Chuck Sweeting, just an innocent bystander there, taking out pretty horrendous impact here, Finian. But that has brought the whole field.
Oh, okay. So I just got told by Corey Lindsay, the admin and owner of 3Y, you just told me computer glitch for Sam Close.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah, and this has happened to him in the past, too.
And Chuck Sweeting has been on the race.
I honestly feel, Chuck Sweeting was competing for the championship in the Hardline Racing League last Friday, and he got taken out of that pretty much by an internet issue, and then he was just an unfortunate victim from what happened to Sam Close.
Man, I hate that for Chuck Sweeting, because I think Chuck Sweeting has had either his computer issues or someone else's computer issues has taken him out of probably 10 races this season. So a glitch for that 5 truck takes out 3 contenders. Chuck Sweeting and the 5 should be retired and done for the day. As we see the field come down pit lane. And this is, who this works out really well for, Finian, is the people that were on pit road just prior to that yellow. Matt Gruenberg being one of them.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, those guys will have to get a wave around. Gruenberg will get the lucky dog, so he'll be a little bit better off. But these other guys they have to stay out and take the wave around, so they're going to be put at the back of the pack. But yeah, this pretty much bunches up everyone up with each other again.
So some changes of position here. Kyle Henshaw's going to come out all the way back in 15th. He's running up higher than that prior to the yellow flag. But you're right, Finian, there. That caution wasn't as helpful as it could have been to those guys. It would have helped if they had made it to pit road and then the caution had come out right then.
Yeah. So a little bit unfortunate timing on their ends, but at least they just pit right before it, so it's not going to affect them too much as far as strategy is concerned or tires or anything of that sort. And they'll be pretty much right up there running with everyone else, and that should put us at 24 of the 25 cars remaining on the track on the lead lap. The last car is Frank Sims, the 4th. He's multiple laps down in 26th.
Yeah, again, that wreck, though, you got to imagine from Chuck Sweeting's perspective, there was nothing he could have done to avoid that, and it's so frustrating because he was past Sam Close. Like, he was already driven past him and just got hooked in the right rear.
Yeah.
Vicious impact there. Hope his neck's okay after that one. But, again, sometimes Talladega, everything's out of your control. Sometimes it is in your control, and that's what the lead pack was doing prior to that incident. But when it goes out of your control, it very quickly goes downhill. Yeah,
and again, that's just kind of one of the things where I was talking about earlier. I was joking kind of half joking about, taking a cross or whatever and saying a prayer, because it's just kind of out of your control at some points. Chuck Schumacher is just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and nothing he could really do. And it just kind of caps off an unfortunate postseason for him.
Yeah, it's just has not been a good playoffs for any league that driver tweeting has been in so far. So things have not worked out. The 59 of Levi Zielinski's got damage, Finian.
Oh yeah, and I'm wondering where that came from. That's significant damage.
That's
to the
a
front.
lot of damage.
Yeah.
That's a lot of damage.
Oh, and if you notice, the 24
Justin Kolb
has a matching dent in his rear bumper.
So I'd love to see if we could find out where that came from. And we'll take the opportunity here with the long yellows here at Talladega. Let's try to find what happened to the 59 truck. I think this was...
Oh,
man, this was under yellow.
Oh, yeah. This recently happened. This is on the back straight.
This is on the back stretch of this lap. And the 59 of Levi Zielinski.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
And at the last second, rear-ended the 24 of Justin Kolb. And luckily, no one else was involved in that. That was just... Zielinski was clearly distracted with something. And
yeah, I think he was just, under caution, you just take for granted he's just accelerating back up to the pack. I don't think he was able to... He didn't really realize how close the pack was. And then when Kolb started slowing down, they caught Zielinski off guard. But yeah, that's a big error on Zielinski's part, and that's really going to hurt him in the championship. And I mean, he was having a pretty good day in the championship after Whitley and Thomas were struggling in that second pack. But now he's with some significant engine damage. I think that's the most significant thing. You need a running engine. You can damage a lot of other parts of this car, but you need that engine intact to keep the speed up. And he's going to be down on power the rest of this race. That's really going to hurt him.
And it also doesn't help that he had a penalty last week, and I'm sure that there's not really going to be a whole lot of good discussion around running into the back of people under yellow, regardless of the circumstances. So that's not going to be...
Yeah, that might be a penalty. I'm not entirely versed on their rule book, but from what we've seen in the past, that they are strict with avoidable contact there, and that definitely comes under it. Although that again, mistake by Zielinski, obviously not on purpose, but the rules are the rules. So we could potentially see a penalty coming to him, making his playoff situation even worse.
So Zielinski was good to the good in the cut line prior to the start of this race, and right now things aren't looking so great, although the 27 and 94 are still out there and could still crash and give Zielinski some luck back, but I'm not really sure how that's going to work out, so we'll have to watch to the end here. But Kevin Finn, that 14 Barks Chevrolet, is out front right now. He's led a bunch of laps today. The 76 of Tanner Sharp currently holding second. Todd Smith in third. Matt Hackathorn is one of the top running playoff driver at the moment with that red banner and the red spoiler. He is P4 with Richard Hines in fifth and Peter Short in sixth.
Yeah, so we're going to come to green with a little less than 45 laps to go. I want to say 44 or 43, depending if the pace car goes in this time, next time buys. Which I would imagine it should. Yeah.
And the 52 of James Miller and the 42 of Kevin G should get that wave around there. They'll let them back on the lead lap. There is one to green.
Yep, and they floor it around the pace car. And as they take their wave by. So I think the note here, pretty sure I would put money on this, is that these guys are going to have to make one more stop before the end of the race. So
unless you're really good at fuel saving.
Yeah, you need a hybrid at this point to help you get to the end, really good fuel saving. So these guys are going to have to make another stop. And I mean, with the way they've been running the entire race, I mean, that was a caution that was caused by exterior, I don't know how to really word it, but conditions outside of
hardware failure.
yeah, outside of the sim or driving on the track. That was just something else that he couldn't really control with his computer. So it wasn't caused by racing, and these guys have been racing clean all night long. They've been getting each other a lot of room, and so what that means is we could potentially see that green flag pit stop still happen. And as we saw in the Fuel Cup Series a few weeks back, that really threw a wrench into the order. Guys were spread out all over the track, and they were only bunched up at the end from a late race caution. And there aren't really that many trucks in this case, on the track to really cause a big caution after they make a green flag stop. So that's going to really play a factor at the end of this race.
Through turns 3 and 4 now, the pace car will pull off as we head to the green and the restart zone here, Finian. Pretty interesting because the pace car pulls off at the beginning of the tri-oval, and the start-finish line isn't until all the way down towards turn 1. So if you're the leader now, looks like Kevin Finn has chosen the outside, although I'm not sure if he's technically the one that's scored as the leader. It should be. He was in front of Tanner Sharp for most of that yellow. So choosing the outside lane, an interesting choice. Maybe with the 44 Hackathorn, he feels more confident than with the one of Todd Smith, who's been erratically quick tonight.
Yeah, I think the main thing is too is his connection issue. You don't want to have someone behind you pushing you with a bad internet connection, because that could really ruin your draft. As soon as that person blinks, the way the sim interprets it, that car doesn't exist. So you lose all the push from behind you, and it causes complete chaos. So you'd rather have someone a little bit more reliable connection, and that Hackathorn is not a slow truck.
Coming to the green now, and the 14 of Kevin Finn's nosed ahead of that 76 is Sharp, and we're waiting for the green. And green flag back in the air here at Talladega, lap 31 of 75. It'll be 44 laps to go.
You already see Hackathorn all over the back bumper of that 14 of Kevin Finn, trying to push him out ahead of Tanner Sharp, and Sharp has no one to help him. So he's going to pretty much immediately lose this lead.
Through turn 1 and 2, and now onto the backstretch we will go, and we'll see if that outside lane forms up as well as it did. And Peter Short has seemed to move his way up into the outside lane, third truck back, and it seems that he has kind of decided it's go time now. I think he's seen that the racing up here has been pretty clean so far, and is willing to throw his hand into the mix.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you can keep yourself at the front, you should be in the safest position one of the safest positions on the track. And again, yeah, these guys haven't been racing each other too terribly hard for any potential of a caution. So he's probably just decided he wants to run his race up towards the front along with everyone else to be there, especially when it counts now, because I would imagine we're not really due for a caution at the end of this race.
Todd Smith is pushing that 76 of Tanner Sharp extremely hard, but it's working out as Sharp noses ahead here coming to the start-finish line.
Yeah, Smith was able to catch back up with Sharp and push him back all the way to the front now. Now Sharp was able to keep the lead.
They're going to clear the 14 of Kevin Finn onto the backstretch now. You
Ooh.
see the 87 diving below the yellow line. Can't pass down there, and you got to blend yourself very carefully back into the racing line.
Yeah, because you don't know if the gap that wasn't initially behind you closed,
Wow,
and oh, this is going to be tight. This is going to be very, very tight.
Oh my
And somehow
goodness.
these guys did not wreck. That could have taken out literally every single truck. But they kept it going there. That could have been a disaster. And it's still
Todd
almost
Smith
a disaster.
is looking really,
Wow.
really racy. He's all over the back bumper of that 76. You got to be real careful though when you get out. If you're not hitting that bumper square, you can really send. You see Peter Short getting out of this mess very quickly.
I think he saw that and decided, nope, and he's gonna probably drop to the back where it's a little bit safer.
Yeah, I think he saw this coming. This is smart. This is championship maneuvers here for Peter Short. He's got to think big picture. He does not have a bye to the next round, although he has a pretty big gap. He still can't afford a wreck in any race this season.
No, and again, better be safe than sorry, honestly, when you're on a championship run. So he's just going to decide to jump to the back, and again, he could just stick there for a long time and then draft his way back up when he feels he wants to.
As we saw it did at the end of the first run there, he went from 18th to 6th in just 2 laps.
Did like a Dale Earnhardt maneuver.
Yeah, and he's actually continuing to go towards the rear of the field here, behind the 42 and the 52.
Oh yeah, James Miller, we didn't talk about that. So James Miller was also able to get back into this fight after that spin down pit road.
Yeah, lucky time for the yellow for him. But up front, again, the 1 and the 76 pushing hard on the inside. And look at the 87 of Richard Hines finally getting up into the mix here. But now Hackathorn pushes Kevin Finn back by as we see a little bit of action and down into turn 1.
Yeah, that one truck is really squirrely. And I'm really hoping he doesn't do something he would regret, because this could end very quickly for a lot of these guys up here. But also, one thing I want to note is that Levi Zielinski right now, these guys are all close to, or 10 seconds away from him, coming in the other direction that you would think. He's all the way.
Oh, Zielinski's very much off the pace here.
Yeah, he's very, very off the pace. So he's losing a significant amount of time, and I can't imagine he's having any sort of fun out there. He's going 140 miles an hour. You can see the field charging on him with a nearly 40-mile-an-hour difference. That's like if you were standing still and someone was blazing down the street ahead of you. So
I can't imagine this is minimum speed.
Oh, and he's on the bottom.
Oh, this is going to be chaos.
Does he pull to the bottom? Please pull to the bottom.
Through turns 1 and 2. They're going to catch him very quickly. And he
boy,
gets off the racetrack enough and lets the field by on the outside.
Good thing good thing they weren't 3-wide. That could have been very different. So,
look at that outside lane there. Look at the 83 Johnny Thomas pushing hard now. The 44 of Hackathorn trying to push Finn back up to the top spot.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard being mired back like around the third lane, because you want to try to get your lane to move, but you can't really push the guy ahead of you, because that'll push the guy ahead of him, and that can cause a lot of chaos and get the guy in the middle pretty much really squirrely and could potentially cause a wreck.
Luis Almaso in the 4 truck. Been kind of quiet tonight, but running 8th right now, trying to move his way forward a little bit more. Started back in the... Actually, started 4th, so he's actually slipped back a little bit, but he's had a quiet night. We haven't seen a whole lot of him.
Yeah, and again, it's just a lot of guys just having some quiet nights, just trying to play this race out and just be a little, be a little bit patient.
Hello, Paul Ross. Where did he come from?
I was going to say something, but yeah, I don't remember him jumping to the front at any point, but here he is. But now here comes Tanner Sharp trying to take him, and we got guys fanning which way, trying to make a move happen.
3 wide for the lead. Todd Smith through the middle. He has no help.
Oh, he does, though, that 83 Johnny Thomas.
But Thomas...
Oh, ditched him.
Wow. To the bottom. Elevator move for Johnny Thomas, and that's going to shuffle out Todd Smith to at least 5th.
Austin Darbyshire, wow.
In the 96. Not going the way he wanted to go. And Tate Lytle's going to get stuck behind him. And Lytle's going to have to take evasive maneuvers to get around him. But everyone seems to get through okay. See, there's Peter Short trying to get back up into the mix. But that puts Tanner Sharp to the lead now in the 76 truck.
And that one of Todd Smith is now pushed up to the outside line. We see him pretty much predominantly on the bottom the entire first run we had. So he's caught up on the outside line, so we'll see what he can do.
And Ross is getting another good shove from the 83 of Johnny Thomas. Down to the inside they go. And whoa, Finn slips a little bit into turn 3.
And I think that's just him just wanting a little bit more breathing room. I think he's trying to get Todd Smith to kind of back off him, because there's nothing more uncomfortable than being the car in the middle and getting pushed from behind into the car in front. You have nowhere to go.
Through the tri-oval now. This is actually an area I always get unsettled driving through this. There's actually a bump kind of at the beginning of the tri-oval that's a little bit unsettling. And the one thing about the lines on this racetrack, there's 3 lanes around here. There's 4 in the tri-oval, okay? And
Yeah.
the lines separate a little bit, and it makes it extremely challenging to get your bearings when you're behind another truck.
Yeah, definitely so. And you can see a lot of guys kind of back off a little bit in some cases on the tri-oval, just trying to get some breathing room. So these guys are going to keep on at it.
And wow, that outside, they've been pushing so strong, but only 1 yellow so far, 39 laps in. What a great night so far, even if it goes to hell from here on out. Impressive racing up to this point.
It definitely so. And ooh, you see Kevin Finn look a little bit racy, trying to look to the inside maybe with Tanner Sharp. It just looked like he had a peak there, maybe to cool that engine.
Hackathorn right now moving through that tri-oval section. And honestly, the outside lane is a safer place to be here than the inside. The inside's a lot bumpier. You see Hackathorn drafting up to the rear end of the 1 of Todd Smith. You see him blink out again. That's going to be dangerous there as we head into turn 1.
Yeah, that's nothing you really like to see as a driver. The guy you're trying to push is just starts flashing, and ooh, boy. You can see that Hackathorn has nowhere to go. Wanted to try to pass the 1 of Todd Smith, but that would have probably caused a wreck, so he's just going to sit on behind him.
Peter Short keeping touch with this group, but it looks like we have another group again, led by Chad Brown in the 64, and it's really only 4 trucks. That's David Wilson, Michael Whitley, and Thomas Morris. I'm not quite sure I totally get the strategy back here for the 94 and the 27, but it seems to be working out so far.
I guess it's their method to the madness, so these guys are going to just keep on sitting this out at the front just for safekeeping, although again, I think this is being a little bit too safe.
And with how clean the racing's been tonight, I just, if it goes green to the end, we're going to have to make one more pit stop. But if it goes green to the end, that could be a little bit challenging here.
Oh, and see what Smith
scared me.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, Smith. Yeah, I think it almost scared some of the guys there because Smith looks like Richard Hines in the 87 there. It was just like they came together on the middle part of the track, and Hines almost looked like he got loose there and spun out, but kept it going straight.
I blinked for a minute and almost missed the big one there.
Yeah.
I looked away from the monitor for 2 seconds. Oh! But it looks like it spooked a couple of drivers, and they're going to get themselves reorganized and go for another push. It's been 10 laps since the restart, and so far so good.
Yo, and you see, these guys gonna go.
I'm too old for this video. You're killing me, man.
You're only 20. But yeah, you saw Paul Ross there on the screen get a little bit loose as he got a bump from Tanner Sharp there coming out of the corner, and still getting some aggressive bumps from that 76 truck.
Off into turn 1 again. Look at the 1 pushing the 14 off into the corner. And not a whole lot of what I would call landing and compression like you have at Dover, where you the car kind of jumps in the air and then lands back on the suspension. Not a whole lot of that here, but still the truck gets a little bit lighter in the wheel when you go off into the corner.
Yeah, and I mean, these guys look like they've been a little bit tail happy, which is something you wouldn't really say in a truck, but I guess they have been. And a little bit squirrely in some cases as they've been really aggressive in pushing each other up to the front.
Nice message on the rear spoiler of Matt Hackathorn's truck there. Mishimoto, looking good on the rear end of that 44. Samasso again started 4th, running 7th. Holding himself in the top 10 most of the day, looking pretty good right now on lap 43.
Yeah, and I think this is pretty much everyone kind of just holding at bay at the moment. But now the big question on hand is, when are you going to make that final pit stop?
Well, we're 15 laps into the stint here, Finn, and I'd say we go another 10 laps to make it about an even run to the end.
Yeah, I would say so. So again, now it's just kind of, have that thought in the back of your head for a little bit and try to start maybe positioning yourself or thinking about where you want to end up in line before the pit stops start happening, and make sure you get to the bottom when you do want to make that happen.
Looking from high above and looking at Salmasso in particular. He was making me sick. Woo! As we swing around, and Kevin Finn having a great run tonight. Again, not a regular in this series, but making a great showing out of Talladega here tonight. And Paul Ross also, when he needs to do well, he's doing well. Yeah, the last couple weeks he's been relatively quiet, trying to keep himself, keep those bonus points he had in check. But, Derbyshire up and out of the groove there just a little bit, but Ross has been relatively quiet lately and needs to make some noise to move farther in the championship.
I mean, maybe he's been quiet, but the dude's leading the race.
Yeah, it's
so
not quiet tonight, that's for sure. But
yeah, and actually, one guy who has been a little less quiet is, it looks like Peter Short might be trying to catch back up here. He looked like he was a little further back, and now he's trying to maybe catch up a bit, maybe have some racing done, or just trying to just chill a little bit closer to the front of the field.
He's still in touch here, but I think he's trying to get himself in touch with that outside lane so that he can charge up and make a run to the front once the pit stops start happening. I think that's really what Peter Short's mind is going to be doing here in just a little bit. You see the 52 up ahead, James Miller looking to the outside of the 63 of Stevens, I believe that is.
Yeah, and you also just saw as well the 59 of Levi Zelensky now is 3 laps down, all the way back in 22nd. From the looks on the YouTube comments, is that Zelensky's screen froze.
I think that was, they're talking about closed there.
Oh, was that?
Yeah.
Wait.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
correction.
Yeah, so his screen froze, and that's why he got into the back of the 24.
Yeah, and I can totally understand that, as iRacing's had some stutter and glitch issues recently. We've been seeing plenty of them, trust me. So I understand that for Zelensky. So hopefully the Edmonds will be a little bit nice about that. 3 wide now, back with the 52 of James Miller. He's going to be 3 wide. That is going to be for 10th with Chevy Gilliam, who's started out real strong, but has kind of been relegated to the rear end of the top 10 for the last 30 or so laps.
Yeah, but see, looks like the one of Todd Smith. It looks like he's trying to maybe look to the outside and go around Kevin Finn ahead of him, but thought better of it, and he's going to still stick behind. So now these guys look like they've been getting more racing now in this middle part of this run.
The confidence is beginning to come up, and that's when things start to go south, Finian, is you get a little bit too confident pushing drivers in front of you. You get a little bit too confident sliding into spaces your truck may or may not fit into, and that's when things start to go south. But as we've seen so far, these guys have been handling themselves very, very nicely 46 laps into this event.
Yeah, that's one thing we also can't stress enough, is just how quickly that things can go wrong. It can go, in the snap of a finger, it can go wrong. Like you were saying, you blinked away from the screen, and then someone almost wrecked. So that just shows how quickly things can go south.
Yeah, and I can't get over this. We've said this a bunch of times tonight here, Finian, but one caution 46 laps into Talladega with the trucks, that's pretty dang good.
Oh yeah, no, that's impressive considering. Considering how a lot of iRacing.
Southern National last week, that was
Yeah.
a lot of yellows,
Yeah.
but this week so far so good.
Yeah, these guys have been really calm for the pretty much all race. So they've been giving each other room, being really respectful. And that's something you don't see too much on a lot of iRacing hosted races on Super Speedway. A lot of guys are trying to make moves any which way they can. That's how guys get into each other. These guys have been extremely clean, and the only really incidents we've been having, the two of them, were caused by computer glitches.
That's exactly right, actually.
So-
We haven't had a single real wreck yet, and
Yeah.
I hesitate to say that we're going to go the whole race without one. I'm sure we'll have one at some point. But we're seeing guys ride that yellow line here, maybe starting to think about pit stops as we get close to 25 to go.
Yeah, definitely in the window now. We're under 30 laps to go in this race, so it's definitely open and willing to take some takers. And I saw some guys actually. I saw Luis Almaso. He jumped out of line. I'm not sure. He's running in 14th at the moment. So he jumped all the way out of line and is now on the bottom part of the track. So it looks like he's trying to maybe come in for a pit stop.
I wonder if he thought about putting that time by and then realized no one was going to go with him and maybe jump back into the throttle. That might be why he fell so far back. I mean, you generally want to keep your position and go side by side in, but if he was on that outside lane, he needed to get down to the bottom.
Yeah, so you might start seeing some pit stops this time by some guys have dropped out of line and fallen to the back.
All right, so let's keep an eye on the field as they come out of turn 4 now, working lap 48 of 75. And out of the final corner. The only drivers that have a chance to jump out are that bottom lane, but it looks like we're going to have no takers from this group just yet. We see the 59 on pit lane. And the second group here, led by Chad Brown, David Wilson, and Michael Whitley. We'll see if they come down to the pits this time. And thought about it for a second, it looked like, but they'll stay out.
I mean, those guys also, especially, they have to come in as the group that they are now, otherwise they have no shot at trying to get up to the front. I mean, there's shots of getting to the front, and this late in the race is a little slim.
Down the back straightaway again. Look at the one of Smith. Ooh. Top to bottom to top. Look to the inside, look back to the outside, and settled in the 5th spot right now.
Yeah, these guys have been pretty stationary there, and you see actually the 52, he dropped that out from the top row and dove to the bottom, so will we see some pit stop this time by?
Doesn't look like anybody's taken it just yet, which is surprising me a little bit.
Yeah, but I think these guys are definitely planning on it in the next few laps. I've noticed some guys purposely just slow down from the top lane, diving to the bottom, so it looks like they have something up their sleeve.
I keep thinking those guys are going to go, but they don't. But off into turn 1, we have some lap traffic. That's the 96 of Derbyshire now going his 5th lap down.
And like Zielinski, I can't imagine that Derbyshire is having a fun day putting around at 160 miles an hour.
We didn't see where he got his damage, but he dropped out of the gate real early. I almost wonder if he had overheating issues or something, because he dropped out of the pack and we never saw him crash.
Yeah, he was running with the pack that was behind him, so he wasn't significantly outpaced. Maybe something might have hit something or someone at some point. We didn't catch it, but out of turn 4, we got some takers this time around.
And the 42 and 54 and the 52 are going to come down pit lane.
So interesting call there.
I wonder if this will drag the second group down.
Yeah, this will definitely probably start catching some guys. Maybe not from this group, but probably from the second group. Having to get some takers down pit road.
Well, the front of the pack is still pretty racy looking now, working lap 51. On the back straightaway now, we split up into several different groups. Peter Short has not charged the front like he did in the last run, and I think maybe because he's not quite liking what he sees up here with the jockeying and moving around.
Yeah, probably so. And I mean, again, still has some time to work with as long as he just stays up there. And he's only riding in 14, so he definitely doesn't have too much ground to gain. In the amount of time that's left in this race as these guys come out at turn 4. Yet again, do we have any more takers down pit road? No. So surprisingly so. So we'll see what's going to happen here.
Second pack again. We'll keep an eye on them and see if they're going to come down to pit road. But again, they're not going to take it, which I think is interesting, Finian, because the last time the second group went for the undercut, and I think what they might be trying to avoid that is getting trapped a lap down when the yellow comes out. When the main group pits. I think they kind of learned their lesson there last time, but now we see a lot of action on the back straightaway. I think people are really starting to get themselves organized.
Yeah, definitely so. So we'll see now. The top line looks significantly smaller. Or I shouldn't say significantly. It looks like maybe 1 or 2 guys dropped out from the back, so we'll see any takers this time around. Looks like Tanner Short might be trying to go. I don't know.
On the apron?
No, doesn't seem like it.
And no takers for the lead group, and we'll check back again with the 39 truck of Wilson.
Yeah, and then after that, I want to see where the previous group that pit the 50, led by the 54, Matt Grunberg, where they came down, and no takers from these guys. So here is that first group that pit. These guys are all teammates.
You can see the pack behind them. They're looming in the distance here, Finian. And they're going to better hope that field comes down to take their stops before any yellow kind of comes out.
Yeah, these guys really need to start getting up to speed here. They're a little disjointed at the moment. That's really going to hurt them, but here comes the main pack now. So I wonder, since they see these lap cars ahead of them, are they going to maybe try to pit and avoid that traffic? We'll see if anyone decides to still make the decision. They've proven us wrong the last 3 times around.
Yep. Have indeed, and again, I don't think we're going to see any takers from that group. So they're going to wait a lot longer than we thought they were going to wait. You see Todd Smith getting sucker-holed again up the middle.
Yeah, these guys definitely don't need to be 3-widers. They're going to catch this lap traffic that's ahead of them, so we'll see what they do.
Digger survives that lap, and look at the 14 all the way up against the safer barrier. Hackathorn following him as well. That's an interesting line. That's as high as we've seen anybody run today. As we've seen 2 distinct groups way up the top, way up the bottom, not really pinching each other like we usually see. And I think this is still some more organization. I think the groups and the teammates are trying to find each other to make this final pit stop, because this is the money stop. We might not get another yellow at the rate we're going here, so you got to find your friends and find them fast before you come down, get tires and fuel, or just fuel.
Yeah, definitely so. So again, they come out of turn 4 and still no takers. So these guys are, I think, almost going to run out the tank from the looks of it, or nearly run out the tank, and they're going to make a late pit stop. And I think that might be
26 of the, lap 26 of the run, 27 of the run. Actually.
I think this is probably these guys thinking maybe to pit at the last possible second to avoid being caught out on a caution. Because when you get jut back out, you might end up being put a lap down or so. So I think that's just these guys trying to play it safe and just avoid a late caution coming out.
You see that other group. Finian will look on board from the 14 to Kevin Finn. You can see that other group trying to run away. That's Grunberg, Miller, and I believe that's Kevin G in the 42 that's in that group as well as Michael Whitley, I believe. Oh, Michael Whitley's the group ahead of him.
Yeah. So, again, out of turn 4, you have no takers. So they're definitely on pitting late at this point as opposed to the 42, 54, and 52.
Yeah, and 20 laps to go this time by, so the ticker switches from lap to 20 to go, and now we start to count the laps down, and it becomes a race to the finish here. It's been calm and collected for most of the race tonight. A lot of drivers just biding their time in the mid-pack, a lot of drivers pushing and shoving up front, but it's been a clean one here at Talladega, and I'm not quite sure we're done seeing all the action. I think once the pit stop's over, I think that's when all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, it's when all hell breaks loose, and I don't even think we're going to have most of the guys we see on screen here. I think the pit stops will definitely jumble up the order, and it's kind of a coin toss as to who's going to be in the front. That's usually what happens with the stops. Usually someone gets a little bit better of a stop. Some people get worse of a stop, and they drop to the back or even out of contention. So this could completely change the order the way we're seeing it on the screen at the moment.
Through the tri-oval now, and Tanner Sharp, again, having an exceptional run in that 76 truck. It's the first week he's running this. And remember, Tanner Sharp actually subbed for Nathan Velez way back in Charlotte, I believe. That was the first time we saw him. Ran really well there. We didn't see him for a long time. Came back again last week at Southern National Motorsports Park in the number 23 Buffalo Wild Wings Toyota Tundra. And here he is now switched out with James Duke for that 76 truck and having a great run in third tonight.
Yeah, definitely showing what that truck has, and he's been running pretty much there all night. I don't think we've seen him really drop to the back at any point.
No.
He's been up there with the likes of the one of Todd Smith, Chevy Gilliam there. Yeah, all these guys have been up in the front battling it, always Kevin Finn as well.
And Matt Hackathorn doing what he needs to do to get himself back above that cut line. You see him wiggling there just a little bit, and with Sam Close having those issues early in the going, that's going to swap those two spots, I think, with the 18 also to the good, as right now the 83 is running in 7th. So that's enough to put the 83 and the 5 below the cut line and the 18 and the 44 above it, and that's how quick things change here at Talladega.
Yeah, definitely so.
Well, we see Tanner Sharp now on the inside of the 18 and backed out of it just a little bit.
And also there's the 22 of Peter Short. He's caught all the way up to these guys, and now he's trying to have a fight for the lead here.
His strategy game has been fantastic tonight, and this is why this guy is the championship favorite. He's been running in the back, being conservative. When the pit stops come, he's charging to the front to get that track position back. I love the moves Peter Short's making this evening.
The moves of a champion, and I really still think that at the end of it all, I think really the championship fight is going to be between the 22 and the 18 of Paul Ross, because they've just been fighting all season between those two. And I'll give a little bit of an edge to Peter Short. He's just showing a little bit more consistency and more raw pace than that 18, but they both been running extremely well all season.
The one of Todd Smith has dropped back to the 22, but I'm going to challenge you here with the 18. I know he didn't have to drive very hard. I know he was being conservative the last few weeks, but the 44 of Hackathorn has been really good the past couple weeks. I think he's starting to get himself into championship contention.
Yeah, definitely so. And I honestly think he's got a really strong look into the final round, at the very least, making into the final 4.
Yeah, and again, he barely, as you see the field peeled onto pit road here, Tanner Sharp's going to lead him down, and here comes Paul Ross and Kevin Finn, and behind him we got, the 87's out of control, he's going to hit the inside wall, but he won't go around, and he'll keep it going, but damage to the 87. The rest of the group makes it on pit road safely. Peter Short involved in this pit sequence as well.
And there's only 3 trucks left on the track running at the moment. There's the 40 or in the lead pack. what was the lead pack is the 44 Matt Hackathorn, 31 of Chevy Gilliam, and the 63 of Mike Stevens. So I imagine these guys are going to come down this time by. They don't want to stay out there too long. They're going to lose a lot of time.
Well, they better hope that these guys are on the same radio channel together, because they need to pit now and keep themselves organized, because that pack, when they get back out on the track, they're going to be making a ton of speed.
Yeah, definitely so. So we'll see this time, do we have any takers? I think they'd be kind of almost foolish not to at this point.
Tanner Sharp leads the group off. Actually, excuse me. Paul Ross leads the group off pit lane with Peter Short right behind him. So there's your championship contenders right there. Mine's still out on the racetrack. And here they come down to pit lane now, and all three of them together.
That was a smart move on all three of their parts, because I don't think they would have had enough speed with just the three of them to really keep up with the lead pack if they kept on running out. So we'll see where they all end up. And here's that entire four-car group behind them. And oh, wow. So does Whitley slide down off the track?
Oh,
he did.
That was almost a yellow flag there, Finian.
Yeah, that really could have affected everything. So, but that's really ruined Whitley's race now. He's going to fall way behind the group he was with.
I'd almost take as short fuel as short as you can possibly make it to try to keep yourself in contention here, as we see Hackathorn leaving the pits now.
Yeah, now the big question, though, where are our leaders? And I think they're around the pit lane. There we go. Here's Paul Ross followed by Peter Short. This is the lead two cars. Paul Ross will effectively be the leader as soon as they get around Hackathorn. And it's if they get around Hackathorn. I think
they should. Hackathorn's still on the inside of the racetrack, and he'll blend and be just behind him.
Yeah.
But this worked out. Hackathorn was running third before, and will jump back in line in third. But Paul Ross and Peter Short fired out of a cannon through that pit sequence. What the heck? They just...
Yeah, this has turned into a tandem race at this point, because these two guys are running by themselves. And I think really the next pack that's going to form up is Matt Hackathorn, Gilliam, Stevens, Sharp, and Salmaso. They look like they're ready to get going as a group, and they're going to have to try to catch back up to these two in the front. And I think they honestly will, because I don't think these two will be able to maintain the pace by themselves.
Well, if we look at our track map there, it's just a little bit of a straightaway between them. It's only a couple seconds, 2.2 to be exact. That's back to the 44 Hackathorn, but Tanner Sharp has just taken that spot away here. So, interesting scenario here that's playing out. I do think, and see, there's only 3 trucks in this group, though. You have to look back another couple seconds to find the rest of the field. So, we've got kind of a couple different groups of trucks sorted out, but I think we'll see them kind of conglomerate together as the race goes on.
Yeah, so right now the way it's looking, so we have Paul Ross, Peter Short in this 2-car group up in the front, and then we have a 3-car group with Tanner Sharp, Luis Almaso, and Kevin Finn behind them. And then behind them a little ways is the 44 Matt Hackathorn, 31 of Chevy Gilliam, and the 63 of Mike Stevens. So these are pretty much, I would say, the trucks that are still within a reasonable gap of contention for the win. Behind them is 4 seconds is a 24 Justin Cole leading his own little group, or I should say only with Johnny Thomas. So this is just showing, look how spread out the field got with those green flag pit stops. And that really just threw a wrench into everything.
Well, Johnny Thomas needs to get at least around Hackathorn here, because that'll put him below the cut line. And this will be a nice safe finish for him if he finishes 10th, but not going to be good enough to keep him above that red line come next week. So look at this. This is really an interesting way to sort this out. We have 8 trucks really in the main contention here, 2 groups of 3 and a group of 2, and the distance between them is beginning to shrink. Yeah,
it's significantly so, and I didn't think that Short or Ross would be able to maintain the gap of pretty much what's going to be the lead group within a few laps, and you see these guys already fanning up behind them.
And the worry is that these 2 groups are going to get put together and come charging right by Short and Ross, as they're not going to have the momentum of the other group, but now you see them separate behind Peter Short and become 2 groups, one on the inside, one on the outside.
Yeah, but they're catching with a head full of steam, and Sharp's going to have a massive run. The speed difference right now is about 5 or 6 miles an hour, and that's a significant difference.
Well, we'll see it going off in turn 1. Sharp's going to swing to the outside. Will anyone go to block? Looks like the momentum will slow just a little bit, but Sharp is still going to be able to carry that speed around the outside with Luis Salmaso, and they are going to be able to take over the lead down the backstretch here if they can get put together, but Short's going to give a push to the 18. 12 laps to go here at Talladega.
Yeah, this is now, we have 8 trucks left in the fight for the win here, and these are all 8 of them on the screen right now.
Now you might be able to add a couple more trucks to this if they can get them. So actually, they're so far back now, I don't think it's even relevant. I think this is where your winner is going to come from. Take your pick.
Granted, we don't have a caution. Disclaimer.
Yeah.
If we don't have a caution.
It's unlikely, though. I mean, I think most of the trucks that we have here are have been shown to be pretty trustworthy. An interesting note, Finian, Todd Smith, 16th place. That's going to be a disappointing finish for him. That pit sequence did not go as he expected.
No, I think he definitely just overshot his pit stall or something.
Well, he slipped back prior to the pit stops almost. He lost track position before the pit stop sequence and just came out and didn't get any back.
Yeah, so it's going to be an unfortunate kind of end to his day, and definitely really disappointing, as he was running pretty much up towards the front. Now is 16 seconds behind the leaders, and that's going to only grow.
Off into turn 3 now, and we've kind of... This 76 truck being very impressive. I think one of the favorites to win here, but again, Paul Ross had, again, started in second, slipped to the mid-top 10. We didn't see a whole lot out of him until the end of that last run, and here he is leading the race with now 10 laps to go here when we get to the line, and Peter Short in second. I guess that shows why these guys were on top of the board of the point standings for most of the year.
And that inside line is surprisingly still able to stick ahead. And even though they have 5 trucks on the outside as opposed to 3 on the inside, they're just not able to really get any sort of run at the moment.
Through turn 2 now. And looks like the 14 of Kevin Finn has dropped into that inside line behind Peter Short. Oh, Short gets a real heavy push there and gets a little bit sideways down the back straightaway. Got to be careful not to push the pusher. And I think now is when the pushing really starts to happen here at 10 to go. Look at Hackathorn dropping back to Gilliam, maybe trying to get a run.
Potentially so. I mean, that's a strategy that you don't really see too often, but that's definitely effective. Is just trying to back up a little bit and just get a huge draft and a slingshot, and that's changed everything.
And it's Todd Smith in the 1 truck.
Wow, and
bad to worse.
Yeah, pretty much. Bad day gone pretty much as worse as you can get it. Running up in the front, and then within 10 laps, you're in the back, and now with a caution out.
Here's a replay of the incident. And Kyle Hanshaw.
Oh, yeah, that was...
Oh, wow. There's some interesting contact there. Let's go back and take a look from Kyle Hanshaw's onboard here, Finny. That was an interesting looking contact.
I don't know.
They just kind of got together.
Yeah, let's see if we can look on board from Lytle, who was behind them. We can really see what happened here.
Looks like the 46 kind of drifted up into the 1 to start that whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know if he was just maybe trying to get a side draft and then it just went wrong. I'm not sure, but I would definitely say that, yeah, the 46
drifted into him, and then I think that put Todd Smith out of control enough to go around.
Yeah.
Look at it from the chopper from high above here. Oh, so the 46 threw a block. And the 1's going pretty straight down the straightaway here, Finney, and the 46 just comes over.
Yeah, yeah. Smith was maintaining his line. He was staying as straight as he really could, and that was pretty straight. So, and then, yeah, just lost control of it. Nothing you could do at that point with the truck out of control, and ended up bringing out the caution.
Well, not significant damage to that truck, just a little bit of side contact. I'm interested to see if there's any disagreement between those 2 drivers over what happened there, because that was a weird accident.
Yep, definitely so. But what we do know is that's literally changed the entire course of this race now. Everyone
stayed out. The first driver that's going to take to pit road is Hanshaw. Thomas Morris is the only playoff driver to come down pit lane. This has just not been a night for Thomas Morris. He's at the bottom of the cut line. He could not afford to have a bad finish here tonight. He's not been in contention, and by his own choice, strangely enough.
Yeah, but I mean, now he's kind of been given a saving grace. Now he's been thrown back into the mix with everyone, so he could potentially... I don't think get a win, but he should be able to... He has the potential to charge into around the top 10 to minimize whatever points damage he would have had if he had finished where he was when the green flag was out.
So, as Darrell Waltrip and Larry Mack would say, this changes everything.
Yeah.
And we're going to have probably about 5 laps to go when we get the restart. And who's got your money on? Because I have no idea.
You can't really. It could change on a dime for the most part. There could be another. There could be, considering honestly, there's a good chance now that we will see another wreck. Because I mean, the only reason that we hadn't seen a wreck before is because these guys were pacing themselves out to the end of the race. But here we are, 6 laps away from the end of the race, potentially when they go green. And so everyone's going to be pretty much going at it. So we might have a potential of maybe seeing another yellow and maybe some guys taken out. So again, we got to see and hope that these guys are going to race with at least calm heads till they cross the line, but still fighting hard. So we got to see what's the end of that. But yeah, it could really be almost anyone that could win this race at this point.
I would love to talk to somebody here. I would like to see if we can get Matt Hackathorn in to talk for an in-race report here. And I would like to see if we can drag him in. See if we can find him if he's on Discord here this evening. Hey, Matt Hackathorn, it's Kyle Howard from the SimTV booth. You got a copy real quick?
I got you guys, but you're super quiet.
Hey, Matt, sorry about that. Well, you're P5 right now, or P6, and things have been going pretty well for you tonight. You're looking good in the points picture here, but the caution with 10 to go, what's your strategy for the end of this race?
Well, I don't really know if you can get a strategy, but the strategy is definitely get to the front. I got teammates all around me, so of course we're going to try to work together. We're actually doing some science experiments there for a little bit, trying to get ready for we're going to start moving with 5 to go, but now it's just going to be a crapshoot. Everyone's going to be on old tires. You never know. Someone might spin the tires. So just basically hold on the seat of your pants, and I'll try to put on a show for you guys.
All right, Matt. Well, good luck out there, and get back to it, and hopefully we'll see you in victory lane in just a couple minutes.
Right on. Thank you, sir. Chevy or Mike? Oh, Shake and Bake Motorsport.
All right, so Matt Hackathorn has given us an update. We just kind of stole him from his Discord server there. We didn't really ask him beforehand, so I'm glad he was available. Hopefully he can have enough time to plan things out. But cautions are long enough here, I didn't feel too bad. So on to the back straightaway here. It's going to be 5 to go for the restart here, Finian, and Hackathorn has got things planned out. He'll be in the outside lane, but I got to think with that few laps left, do you got to be in the front 2 rows, or do you think you can make a move from 6th on back?
You could definitely make a move with 6th on back. The way that these trucks draft, like I've been saying it online, compared to the Xfinity, which is a little bit harder, and the Cup car, which is even harder as far as drafting is concerned, to really get the runs. It's just significantly easier in the trucks to be able to get those runs, and it can really just change on a dime. And like you said, he's with his teammates there, the 63 Mike Stevens and the 31 of Chevy Gilliam, so has some friends to work with. It's just a matter of if they can find each other, get together, and get going to the front.
They did a pretty good job of that before the pit sequence here, and I expect at least the 63 to give the 44 a good push to the end here. But as we come back around, Paul Ross and Peter Short were acting like teammates, even though they're very much in the heat of battle.
No, yeah, again, like I've been saying, I think these are your favorite championship contenders, and they're right now starting 1st and 2nd here at Talladega, so this should be a fun one to watch between both of them. Again, they're not explicitly fighting at the moment as far as points are concerned. They're in 2 separate groups at the moment, but I mean, well, for the win overall and for as many points they can get, they're definitely in the fight.
So we should get the 1 to green this time through, and we'll line them up and set them loose for 5 laps. So it was only our 2nd caution in a 75-lap Talladega race. Well done racing here tonight by 3Wide and the Nathan Young Designs Truck Series. A good night for racing, and got this race done in a pretty good amount of time for how long it is. So impressed with the level that we've seen here tonight. Again, the only 2 of the 3 accidents we've seen were from computer issues, and I'm not convinced that 3rd one wasn't a computer issue as well. So maybe internet was a little bit played a factor in that one. So things have been good tonight, is all I can say.
Yeah, definitely. So hopefully these guys can keep it good for the rest of these 5 laps. But these guys are going to be going pretty much all out. Any of the saving that you've seen these guys been doing before, it's not going to happen at this point. Everyone potentially has a chance to win, and you're going to pretty much see that as everyone tries to get as many positions as they can before the checker flag comes out.
Make a correction. Not everyone has a chance to win.
For the most part.
It's. I think everyone thinks they have a chance to win, and that's where we're going to have an issue. Because
everyone does have a chance to win if most of the people in front of them crash. So in that sense, yeah.
I think that crash is going to happen probably coming into the checkers. I think we've seen some good racing night. People have been very reserved, but once that flag is waving, I think all bets are off.
Yeah, definitely so. So we have, looking at it, we have 20 trucks still left on the lead lap.
Which is so impressive.
Yeah.
For any track, but Talladega especially.
We have not had the big one yet, and I'm going to just knock conveniently on this wooden desk.
This is plastic, but it'll
Close
do.
enough. There's no other wood here,
There is no wood in this room, so we are screwed. Big one confirmed. Off into turn 3 now, and Peter Short's got the 76, and Tanner Sharp lined up behind him, and that's the lane I want to be in right now. The 76 has been a great pusher all night and has been very aggressive, so I want to be on that outside lane, but Kevin Finn isn't shabby either.
I was going to say, Kevin Finn's been giving some really good runs as well. So really anyone, I would say, in that top 6 has a solid shot. We've all seen them at the front at some point in time, and I would say those are probably the favorites for the race win. because they've all been really competitive and really strong.
Well, we pull off a turn 4, and we're going to have 5 laps to get her done. If the caution comes out, the race is over. And Paul Ross in the 18 Chevrolet is going to lead them down. Peter Short, the Kansas City Southern Tundra, will be restarting the outside lane with Tanner Sharp behind him. And Ross has the 14 of Kevin Finn with him. As the field bunches up, Nathan Young Designs Truck Series, the second round, race number 1. We're back green here in just a moment as Paul Ross fires off 5 laps to go at Talladega.
Yeah, and you can see that both lines got off to a pretty even start, but you see Tanner Sharp already pushing that 22 to the front.
14 tried to give Paul Ross a pretty big shove as well, but it wasn't as big as the one Peter Short got from the 76. See the 52 way out of line there. He's going to try to squeeze back in front of Johnny Thomas, and he does, but that was a close moment there in turn 1.
Yeah, you can see everyone's now being really aggressive, pushing everyone that they can up towards the front. You can see it's a whole mess of cars.
On to the back straightaway now, and the runs are beginning to build. We're into high gear already. Into turn 3, and Paul Ross is nosed ahead here just by a tad. And it looks like the inside line's got a little bit more momentum, and Ross is going to clear the 22 of Peter Short. Out of turn 4, we're going to be coming to 4 laps to go this time through.
Yeah, but we've seen this pretty much time and time again. That inside line's usually good on that first lap, but as the run goes on, as few laps as it's going to be, we'll see that outside line get a little bit of help.
Peter Short loose.
Yeah, we'll see that outside line get a run if they can get some help there, but you can see right now it's only Peter Short and Tanner Sharp there. And Ackathorns actually didn't really get that good of a start, and he's falling back fast.
Here comes the 54 of Matt Gruenberg all the way on the outside. He's got a big push from James Miller. I would say it's too little too late, but it's definitely not. They have time to do this if they can pull that off well, and that would be an exceptional move. But we'll see if Chevy Gilliam will jump out of the outside lane. We haven't seen a whole lot of him since the beginning of the race, and the 44 Hackathorn jumps up there for a second and jumps back into line in front of his teammate, Mike Stevens.
And however, we could also see Michael Whitley, too, is trying to join into this fight. He's been quiet all night. He's slowly slipping his way up there.
And that 27, Thomas Morris, is still hanging out in the back, and he might have actually chosen a good place to be, because this is not going to end pretty. With the way things are, look at the 64, Chad Brown jumping the outside lane, back down to the bottom, almost in front of the 94 of Whitley, but doesn't quite get there.
Yeah, it could have been really tragic if he did, but he kept it there. And you see the inside line now, only 4 trucks strong. They lost a little bit of ground. Now the outside line's going to start charging a bit. And
Peter Short got a nice shove from the 76 of Tanner Sharp through turn 2, and that should give him a good run down the back straightaway.
And notably, Matt Hackathorn has fallen pretty much out of this at the moment. He's dropped all the way back to 14th.
Trying to build a run, but there's nowhere to go, and it's going to be 3 wide here in just a minute. I don't think they're going to have enough time to get back forward, and this is not good for his championship hopes here, getting himself back above that cut line, as the 18 and the 83, actually, where is the 83? Up an 8, so yeah, this is not looking good for that 44 truck.
No, it is not. He can still try to redeem himself as much as he can, but you see the 76 of Tanner Sharp get a little squirrely there on that outside line, getting a push from the back of Chevy Gilliam. 2 laps to go as they come across the line.
Now, Peter Short noses ahead. He led that lap by an inch off into turn 1, and it's going to get pushy and shovey now.
I would say it's going to get even more pushing and shovey if that's even possible. You can see they're all bunched up behind each other.
Look at Michael Whitley again. You mentioned it, Finian. Hasn't been in contention all day. He's on the inside of that tail end of that group. Not really anywhere for him to go. But if he's going to try to get some more spots, he's got to go now as we're coming to turn 3 with 2 to go.
I think we're going to potentially see a third line form as there's just nowhere to go but on the low and potentially middle line. So if someone wants to jump to the high side, coming to the white flag, they're going to have to think about it now.
And maybe Gilliam's the guy to do that. He's going to have help from Johnny Thomas. You see them all wiggling around side by side drafting off of each other to the line. We're going to see white flag one more time around here at Talladega. Peter Short and Paul Ross, the championship leaders, head-to-head. 1 to go.
Yeah, next flag is going to end the race, whether it be the checkered or the yellow. And you can see that really no line's moving at the moment, but again, they still have about half the track to go. We're going to potentially see, I would say, maybe Tanner Sharp and Gilliam jumping to the outside.
Down the back straightaway now for the final time. Look at Johnny Thomas. He's looking to the outside. Does Gilliam follow him? Does the 76 of Tanner Sharp dump the 22? No, they don't. And the 83 falls back in the line into turn 3.
I gotta imagine he has something up his sleeve, and there he goes. He
the
looks
14's gonna wreck. Around goes the 4 of Luis Salmaso up into the racetrack into Michael Whitley. Hackathorn gets wrecked.
But as they're coming through the stripe, the green flag is still in the air. And here we go. We have the 18 Paul Ross in the lead. I don't think Tanner Sharp could take him.
Tanner Sharp to the inside, can't make a move. Paul Ross will
Oh, and they're wrecking behind them.
Oh, and that's the 56 of Tate Lytle. But Paul Ross takes home the victory in a wild last lap finish here at Talladega. Well done by Ross. Tanner Sharp comes home second. Peter Short falls to fifth at the end there. Damage on the right and left side of that truck.
That was an interesting last lap, to say the least, between everybody. Yeah, the order is still kind of sorting itself out on iRacing's term, trying to get everyone sorted out, because a lot of trucks wrecked on that last lap.
Well, we'll go back and take a look at all of it. But you see the 22 and the 18. Good finishes for both of them, regardless of the finish. Let's go back and take a look at what transpired there, especially coming into turn 3. There was a lot of action. It started back, I believe, with Kevin Finn was the first one to go around.
Yeah, you can see here there's just so much movement here. And I think Salmasa might have gotten pushed into him. Yeah.
Just that kind of the freight train effect here. And Salmaso goes around and look at Hackathorn. Wow!
Oh, torpedoed! Wow.
And other trucks involved behind them.
10 for the landing there. He stuck it, but that engine blew on his truck, so he was coasting to the line.
We're right on board with Hackathorn. Get ready. Get your barf bags ready, folks. This is going to be a wild ride. And just throttle to the floor. Oh. I hope he wasn't in VR.
Oh man, but you gotta honestly feel for Hackathorn at the end of that as we're looking.
Johnny Thomas in the 56 of... Oh, Peter Short got bumped by the 52, and that's what triggered the second wreck behind. But there were the wrecks at the finish there as Paul Ross does his burnouts down the front straightaway. And Ross takes a victory here at Dega. And what an unlikely race this was for him. He just was kind of hanging around, didn't really show a lot of strength till that final run. And alongside Peter Short, they came home as the top 2 in the championship. And they're going to just pad their point standings on their cut line, the cut line there on the bottom left of your screen. So good night for Peter Short and the 18 of Paul Ross.
Yeah, they definitely showed why they earned those first round buys heading into the playoffs, and they're going to maintain their points leads pretty much after this first round, after everything was sorted out after the last round of the playoffs. So yeah, great job by both of them online, especially Paul Ross, just being almost in the top 5 or top 10. He's pretty much in the top 10 that entire night. And I would say this is a well-earned finish. Just placed himself well, rode out most of the race, and was there where he counted.
Paul Ross takes home a victory. Tanner Sharp, a solid second place the first week in that 76 truck. Chevy Gilliam, a great finish in the 31 this week after a strong run at Coda a couple weeks ago. 52 of James Miller, nice rebound, finished 4th. Peter Short, of course, 5th. Tate Lytle comes home in 6th. Johnny Thomas in 7th. Both those guys coming to the checkers. Kevin G, Chad Brown, Justin Cole will round out your top 10. What a finish that was.
Yeah, and you see, as it gets back here, you can see how disjointed it was compared to when they took the white flag. You see Todd Smith all the way back up in 11th after what happened to him. Thomas Morris in 12th. Kyle Hanshaw in 13th. Matt Gruenberg all the way back in 14th as he was trying to charge up to the front.
But the
14 to Kevin Finn.
The disappointment of today, though, Matt Hackathorn coming home 17th after such a strong run earlier in the race.
Yeah, and even Michael Whitley, too, who showed some life there at the end there. He's knocking on the door of the top 10 all the way back in 19th. After that final wreck, it just changed up the field so much.
And Sam Clo's going to have a lot of points to make up the next couple weeks in that 5 truck. Not a great night for him after having a hardware failure. So a wild finish here at Talladega results in the 18 truck of Paul Ross returning to victory lane. We'll be right back with some interviews, and we'll close out the night. Stay with us. Welcome back live here to SimTV. We're here with race winner Paul Ross. And Paul, what a finish that was for you. You held on to it and came home with a victory after what seemed like a pretty quiet night. You were there in contention all night, but showed your strength at the end with Peter Short and managed to hold off Tanner Sharp for that. Tell us about your evening.
Yeah, our plan was to get through the first round of green flag pit stops, and I was just riding it out. And then once we got closer to the halfway, I wanted to get the bonus points since this round just reset our points. And with the caution coming out, we pushed at the right time, and I believe we led the halfway point. And then it was just to a point where we wanted to stay out front. Once you started getting behind people, and the outside lane would get a run, and then another person would get in front of you. If you got stuck on the bottom, you could drop back pretty quick. But it was great racing all night. I want to give a huge thank you to Tanner Sharp and Kevin Finn. Kevin blew up in between 3 and 4, and then Tanner jumped behind me to help push me to the checkered flag. We have probably about 160, 173 wide starts with one another, so we've known each other a while, and just want to say thank you to them and thank you to my teammates for working with me early on in the race.
All right, Paul. Well, certainly the victory launches you into a pretty good position points-wise coming up to an elimination race here in a few weeks. But does this make you feel a little bit better heading off to the next round that you have that win under your belt, a couple bonus points, and looking pretty good on the cut line?
Yeah. I mean, the way that last week went, we had a top 3 truck easy, and then I got stuck a lap down with pit stops and everything else. And, these races are so hard to win, and I mean, even hard to get a top 5 or 10 in sometimes. So I feel good with the win and the bonus points that we got, but I mean, anything can happen the next 2 races. So it does help, though.
All right, Paul. Well, thanks for talking to us, and congrats on a victory here at Talladega tonight.
Thank you.
Tanner Sharp, driver of the number 76. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
All right, Tanner. Well, tonight you were one of the most dominant trucks out there, and it was certainly a good finish for you as well. Just came up one spot short. Tell us about your evening.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. At first, I was that inside row at the beginning of the race just didn't go anywhere, and the outside row was just pushing. Then they back up. But patience was big time the key here tonight at Talladega, driving this 76. And I normally don't drive 76 here in 3WideRacing. But the goal at the end there, actually before the end, them pit stops, I was working with some 3OG drivers, and we were kind of just communicating in private a little bit on what to do for a pit stop, and that all worked out great until caution came out. And then I had no choice but to work with Peter Short, so I was just pushing the heck out of Peter as hard as I could. I never lifted that entire run. At times, I probably thought I should have, just because I didn't want to get into his quarter panels, the left rear or the right rear. But every time I pushed him, I hit him square, and that was just my main focus. At first, I didn't know I was clear until they all crashed and all that. Then I kind of just hopped on right behind Paul and pushed him to a win. It was either push Peter or Paul. I didn't think I would have any momentum trying to win the race here tonight. So it was a good run overall.
All right, Tanner, and again, it's your first week here in the 76 truck, and obviously a very strong run. But we talk about racing with guys like Ross and Peter Short. Do you race them any differently, knowing that they're in the championship battle and you're just out here for victories?
I didn't race. I don't think I race them any differently. I mean, I've been part of this 3WideRacing league since the inaugural season back in 2011 in some way, shape, or form. And tonight was just practically just kind of stay in line. Don't be aggressive on the bump drafting. Don't be aggressive on the side drafting with anybody really. But when it came down to it at the end, there is just either push Peter or Paul. And I just made my choice and got one of them a victory. So the answer probably is not really, just race smart.
All right, Tanner. Well, thanks for talking to us. At an exceptional run for you tonight. We'll look to see you in the truck next week at New Hampshire.
Yeah, before you guys let me go here, a big shout out to Pilot Performance Group, Chad Brown, for letting me drive his car, number 70, or his truck, number 76. I will be here the rest of the season for the trucks, and I do got some plans for the Cup Series, but I cannot say anything at this time. Thank you.
All right, Tanner. Have a good night.
You too.
Chevy Gilliam, driver number 31. You got a copy? You there?
Hello.
Hey,
Yep,
what's up?
We're good.
Well, that was a great night for you. At the beginning of the race, you were real aggressive and showing your strength right up at the front. You faded in the middle of the race, but you came back for a solid third place finish. Tell us about your evening. It was definitely a wild one.
Yeah, well, we started third. I wasn't expecting to. Honestly, I do not like super speedway racing, but anyway, we started third, so I just kind of went for it at the beginning, and then things kind of just played out where I just rode around and just mainly communicating with my teammates as far as pit strategy went. So, yeah, I mean, it all worked out. Surprisingly, just mainly communicating on those green flag pit stops.
Coming to the checkers after that late yellow flag, we were talking to Matt Hackathorn prior to the green flag about finding friends and moving with them. And do you have anybody out there tonight that you worked with a lot to try to make your way forward, or was it just kind of an every man for himself deal out there?
Well, I kind of felt like the odd man out. I mean, I don't really know anybody in this league other than Matt and the 63 there, who took me on as a kind of a hot seat offer here. So I just kind of waited around. In the beginning, I just jumped around a lot and tried to play aggressive, and then eventually just got put back in line. And then I found them and just kind of rode with them and got some tips and what to do and what not to do from them this whole race. So.
All right, well, thanks for talking to us. It was certainly a good night for you, and hopefully we'll see you next week at New Hampshire.
Oh, yeah, you should see me tomorrow, too. It sounds like I got an offer to run the 76 for the Cup Series. So.
All right, sounds good, man. Thank you. We'll see you later.
All righty.
Kevin Finn, SimTV, got a copy?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, Kevin, tonight was a great night for you leading up to that ending there, and you just got shuffled back into a collision there on the final lap. Tell us about your night.
Well, I had a great night running up front. Had some laps and felt real great running the top line there with Matt pushing me and Todd pushing me. Took 2 tires on each stop, and just unfortunate at the end was pushing Paul real hard. And yeah, you saw what happened at the end. I feel bad for everybody that was involved. I obviously didn't mean to do that, but I was running hard, trying to push Paul, maybe get on the outside and make a move. But in the end, everything happened, and it is what it is.
All right, Kevin. Well, certainly a little bit disappointing considering how good you were running earlier in the night, but still a strong run for you overall. We'll see you later, and have a good night.
Thanks, man.
All right, Matt Hackathorn, driver the number 44. Well, we talked to you just prior to that final collision there and the last lap, and we were hoping things would go a little bit better for you than they did at the end there. Why don't you sum up that restart and those final laps?
Well, I went through the gears just fine. It just did not go at all. It wouldn't draft with anyone. I think it was a problem either with my internet or with whoever's behind me, but I just couldn't get going. And by the time someone got behind me to where I was actually being pushed, too little, too late. It's whatever. Honestly, I had a blast the whole time. It's really cool that I did like a perfect double kickflip and landed.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Matt, but we were just riding on board while you were talking on the gyro cam, and oh my god, you need to watch this back after. It just did like 360s, and it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Oh, dude, it caught me off guard because I thought I was going to clear, and then I saw how Whitley bounced off, and I was like, oh, no. So I just kept it pinned, and I hit him, and then I immediately got upended by the other Matt, and that sent me for a good time.
Yeah, again, that was a wild wreck there. But we're talking about, oh man, that's such a violent hit. The end of the race, stuff like that. Is there anything you can do as a driver to prepare for those last lap wrecks? Is there a place you can put your car? Do you choose the bottom or the top or anything different, or is it just blinders on, throttle to the floor, try to drive through?
So for me, I try to be a little bit more meticulous with it. I can play really good mind games, I feel, at a super speedway, at least in official races, because I don't think I've really ever lost a super speedway one, if that I've actually been there at the end. But I just try to focus on the track ahead. I don't even look at anyone. I just sit there, and I know I need to keep my temps down. So if I'm pushing someone, I'm always looking past them. I'm always looking through the windshield. And what usually ends up happening is you can play a lot with the blind spots in these cars because you only really have your relative as your spotter. So they don't know if you're going to go outside. They don't know if you're going to go inside. So they're mirror watching. So usually if you make one move, the second move, you can cut right back underneath them and you can't really support yourself for it, or else you will spin in these cars.
All right, Matt. Well, certainly a little bit disappointing finish considering your their run later in the race. But is there anything you look forward to next week? We're going to New Hampshire. A little bit kind of a short track, kind of an intermediate. You're obviously going to not be in a fantastic place in the points bracket. What are you going to try to do next week to get yourself back into the title hunt?
Just try to race it like every week. I've been trying to focus on being the best, but every time I've done my best this year has been when I was just having a blast with it. So I'm just going to try to focus on having fun again.
All right, Matt.
I'll probably pack a ton of rear brake into it and spin out a couple times, but you got to do it.
Well, hopefully keep it going in the right direction. Thanks for talking to us, Matt, and sad to see you finish down in P17, but certainly a strong run for you regardless. We'll hopefully talk to you next week.
All right, thanks, guys.
No problem. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, Finian. Well, Talladega, 2 cautions. Well, 3 technically, but 2 cautions, 75-lap race. Paul Ross comes out on top. Championship picture heading into next week.
Yeah, I mean, very interesting. I mean, yeah. So I would say Paul Ross, Peter Short, with their finish tonight and just with their general pace, I would say they're pretty much a shoe-in to that Final Four. Where it gets interesting is if you when you look back. So obviously we know that Hackathorn had a bad finish, but so did Sam Close. So they're going to be definitely outside looking in, with Close finishing in 24th and Hackathorn finishing 17th. And Hackathorn needs to pretty much be, at this point, Johnny Thomas, who finished 7th, finished really well tonight. So that's the group 1 picture at the moment. Peter Short, again, 15-point buffer, still did well, finished 6th. Fantastic finish from him, strong. Zielinski definitely really struggled tonight, finishing home in 23rd with that damage earlier on. And then it's really much between Whitley and Morris, and I'm trying to see where they finished. So Morris finished in 12th.
That's a fantastic finish. I mean, that was
considering
well
where
played.
he was. Yeah, considering where he was running, honestly,
We doubted that strategy.
Yeah, and I mean, it kind of paid off for him at the end. He could have finished a lot worse, and he finished ahead of Whitley, who finished in 19th. So in Group 2 right now is looking to be Short with Morris behind, and then Whitley, and then Zielinski. But we know that Zielinski is fast, so if he can put some good runs the next 2 weeks, he could potentially be trying to clinch that final spot. And I think he has the truck and pace to do it.
Yeah, certainly an exciting night of racing here at Talladega Superspeedway. Well, looking ahead to the SimTV picture heading forward, Tuesday night we have the RigShare Fuel Cup Series from Charlotte Motor Speedway. That'll be Tuesday at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Then Thursday we have doubleheader, Scars Ferrari Challenge from Road Atlanta, and then right immediately after, the Fuel IndyCar Series from Indianapolis, 100 laps there. Nothing on Friday because Hardline is done, so the next race after that will be Sunday night, the second race in round 2 here for the Nathan Young Designs Truck Series. That will be New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And we will talk to you on Tuesday night. Thanks for watching and sticking with us for an exceptional plate race here from 3WideRacing League and SimTV. We wish you have a great night. We'll see you on Tuesday.